Hey, yo, what's the deal? That's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I'm saying? As of this recording right now, it is 3:27 p.m., May 11th, 2025. And I forgot to mention something real quick. I forgot to mention Happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mothers out there. You know what I mean? Happy Mother's Day to my mom, Cassandra. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get more of Mama Tag, ripping on the IWC. Let's start doing that. You know what I mean? I'm clearly going to start doing that so I can get people mad. Like I'm motherfucker. You know what I mean? So I'm watching, right now I'm watching basketball. Not really basketball, but NBA countdown. It's going to be the OKC and the Denver Nuggets. You know what I mean? I hope fucking, Jokic bust they ass, man. You know what I mean? I want to see Jokic bust they ass, But I like SGA. I think SGA is great. SGA is fucking great. But I think Jokic is going to be, and what happened to the Knicks fans? Knicks fans, what happened? What happened? I thought you said Knicks in 4. I thought your motherfucker said Knicks in 4. What happened? What happened? You know what I mean? What happened? Bum ass motherfuckers. Anyway, so this is the second discussion video I got for the day. And what I'm going to talk about is justified and unjustified pushes in wrestling. Now, we're starting to see, we saw this clearly with Jey Uso. People were wondering, well, how come he won the Royal Rumble? What the fuck did he do to deserve the push? What the fuck did Jey Uso do to get to where he was at? He sucks. He sucks. Here's the thing, the nuts. Okay, last year, right? You see how over he was, right? You clearly see how over Jey Uso was, right? With merch, with the whole Yeet movement and his whole gimmick and such, right? And it caught on. It caught on to the point where, he deserved that push and it was justified, right? You know who else we're starting to see that with too? And we're going to see more of this, as 2025 going into 2026. Joe Hendry. You know what I mean? Joe Hendry is over. You know what I mean? And this is why I say gimmicks are important in wrestling, right? Because you could be the best wrestler, right? You could be the best wrestler, but if you don't have anything, if you don't have a certain if about yourself, you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get pushed. You're not gonna get, if you don't have that certain something, you're not gonna be pushed. You're not. And I can give you a bunch of people whose pushes were justified. You know what I mean? A whole lot. Hold on real quick. Let me sip some water. Some nice crispy water. Oh my God. It's nothing like the water. I can give you some examples of people whose pushes were justified and unjustified. You know what I mean? Because again, depending on what they have, right? If they have not only a certain look, but also a certain thing about themselves, you're definitely going to be pushing people, right? So, of course, Steve Austin, look how over he was. You know what I mean? Look how over Stone Cold Steve Austin was during that time, right? He was over. And The Rock, throw The Rock in there, right? And speaking of The Rock, I got a video on The Rock later tonight. Look how over both of them were, right? Daniel Bryan, you know what I'm saying, with the Yes movement and such, right? Look what happened, right? Vince couldn't deny his push. He couldn't. You know what I'm saying? So he had to push him. He had to push him to the top, right? John Cena was another one. John Cena's push was justified because, again, he was fucking over. He was getting crowd reactions and everything when he started the thugonomics shit, right? Becky Lynch, when she did the man gimmick, right? Look how over she was, right? Roman Reigns, right? Early on, I understand, like, all right, at first it was unjustified, right? But if you think about it now, right? They made the right call, by pushing him heel and giving him a nice heel push that turned him into an organic baby face. I mean, people want to see him as a fucking baby face. You don't look at Roman Reigns the same, after that heel turn, right? AJ Styles, What the fuck more can I say about AJ Styles? Look how fucking over AJ was. You know what I mean? Especially when he came in 2016. He always was a star. Remember the Bullet Club and everything? But when he came to the WWE, I mean, he was over. You know what I'm saying? He clearly was over. Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was definitely over. You know what I'm saying? His pushes were justified. And CM Punk. Enough said. Enough said. But what about the ones whose pushes were not justified? What about the ones who you're like, I don't know why they pushed him for? What the fuck? Like, you know, these are the people who basically, you know, get shoved down your throats and you know they're not worthy of that push, right? Let's, you know, Jinder Mahal, great fucking example, right? You know, Jinder Mahal had nothing to show for as a WWE champion. But because they wanted to go to India. You know what I mean? Like he was a big, you know what it was? He was a big, tall guy who Vince liked, right? But he really didn't show oomph. He really didn't show anything. You know what I mean? Who else they try to push? Ryback. You know, Ryback got exposed for, you know, for his uncarelessness, you know, in the ring. You know what I mean? Like he's basically a Goldberg ripoff and everything. And look what happened, right? Who else? Eva Marie. You know, Eva Marie, right? Her push was very unjustified, right? Like nobody gave a fuck. Nobody cared about Eva Marie. Like, come on, man. You know, Carmella. Carmella's another one. You know, Carmella is clearly another one whose push was very unjustified. It's like, she's not even all that great in the ring. She wasn't. She really wasn't. You know, fucking who else? They tried this with Tom Pestic, a.k.a., you know, Bishop Dias, a.k.a. Baron Corbin. You know, no matter how much times they try to push him, you know, it just wasn't going to work. You know, I don't get it. Hold on real quick. Anyway, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Mama tag called. But again, if we're talking about the unjustifiable pushes of wrestlers, you know, again, you're going to have that based off of not the wrestling, but also like mostly like gimmick, you know, catchphrases, fucking a certain look. And since, I mean, that's, you're going to get that. I mean, Tom McGee, fucking Tom McGee. Remember Tom McGee? You know, they wanted to push Tom McGee, you know, because Tom McGee had a certain look, right? And look what happened, you know? I mean, look, you're going to see that in wrestling. That's how it is in pro wrestling. You know, this is, you know, Jey Uso's not going to be the last, but his push is justifiable. Why? Because the motherfucker, he has a gimmick, he has a catchphrase, and he sold merch. He sold fucking merch. You know what I mean? So if people don't like it, too bad, man. Welcome to the pro wrestling business. Anyway, guys, I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm going to definitely holler at y'all. I will be coming with another video tonight for sure. So I'm going to catch y'all tonight. Peace.